Kazum hated rich kids, especially ones that pick on kids that aren't well off. This is Shoyo, Kaz's new friend from coding class, who was being bullied by this tall weird-looking excuse of a human. Of course, being the nerdy delinquent he was, a good boy his mom raised, taught him self-defense and told him no matter how much they cry, continue beating them. Bested the shit out this guy and then cutely reported it to the counselor, using his perk at being an omega and calling the bully an assaulter because he was. So now Kenma had finally made a good true friend. Shoyo was nice and very pretty, turns out kind of a genius. Though he wasn't in college yet, he got to sit in Ken's coding class for extra help, which was from the professor who was also Sho's tutor. Kozu enjoyed Sho's company. He enjoyed talking about games with him, though Ken doesn't really like kids at all. Yes, Sho was a kid to him cause he's technically a minor, seeing that he wasn't old enough to drink or even drive or own a house. They spent a lot of time together, so much time together that it's your 18th birthday next week. Sho said, making Kenma get killed by the boss in Genshin. He was so shocked. No way, it was almost 2 months since he started college. He didn't want to see his mom so early. Are you excited on finally meeting your mate? Ah yes, the thing Ken has been trying to avoid his whole life. Finding a life partner, though it wasn't music of a problem for him because he really didn't mind. He just didn't want someone who would make him feel uncomfortable or unappreciated. No. Ken said, as he healed up and got ready to write the boss again. I really just want them to be someone chill. Also, where exactly do I get this mark? He asked. Though his mom would go on and on and on about it, he would almost very listen to her. On your wrist, but only your mate can see it. That is until your mate it like, says a person who didn't have time to think about that. He screamed as soon as the word was heard from Shoyo's lips, startling Akashi, who was sitting on the floor typing up his paper. Ken said a quiet apology and continued playing his game. No, I'm not doing that disgusting act. My soulmate better find someone else. Both Shoyo and Akashi laughed at his comment, which only made him even more angry. As the days passed, it was getting closer until it was here. It was his 18th birthday. What made him realize was the sudden black mark on his arm when he went to take up his cup to drink some water. It made him jump a bit, but he couldn't scream because Akashi was sleeping. So he went outside to let out the much needed shout. He needed time to think, what even was this mark? It kinda looked like a tattoo, he thought as he continued to walk down the halls as he stared at the thing on his wrist. He looked up at the sound of kissing, wondering what lowlives decided to display their love in the middle of the hallway, but what he saw shocked him. It was Kuru? Yeah, that was his name, and Bakuto, Akashi's fiancé. As soon as they saw him, Kenma bolted. He never ran so fast in his life. He could feel them coming behind him, probably trying to cover up what he saw. Though he didn't have his glasses on, he could make out those horrible haircuts. He opened his room door, then locked it shut. Ken whispered as he shook Akashi awake. Slowly the beautiful Omega opened his eyes, confused, staring up at Kenma. Ken. Akashi said, still a bit asleep and very, very much tired. I don't know how to say this, but that big him sorry Bakuto is cheating on you. Akashi paused, trying to understand what he had heard. He looked down on and then up at Kenma and repeated the process again until he started chuckling very softly. No, he's not. I think you saw him with Kuro-san. Those two are mates. Sure, Kao and I are said to be married, but they were together before we met. I'm just hoping that they're also my mate because I love Kao. Tetsu sometimes. Kenma stood there in shock. Was this Omega stupid? Why on God's never mind, it wasn't his problem. Kenma didn't say anything after that. It didn't matter what he said, the Omega was brainwashed. Hey cool, you're also their soulmate. So there's a chance for me too. That statement made Kenma's heart drop. What? This was the only time Kenma had released his hormones, seeing that he didn't care much about his second gender, but this wasn't a scent of delight, it was just pure rage. He glared down at Akashi as if telling him that he was joking. When he wouldn't budge, he went to open the door, so see the two idiots from before just standing there. Obviously Kuru was overwhelmed by the scent of the Omega so much that he started coughing. Kazum Ken, before he could finish, Akashi covered his mouth. Please don't reject them. Even though Akashi could barely stand, he made his way over here for these amateurs. Akashi slumped down on the floor, breathing heavily. Whatever. Just know I don't want anything to do with you guys. He turned to walk away. He needed his game, or maybe his mom. This was a mistake. Why didn't he just stay home? Help his mom at work. That way he wouldn't have met this disgusting people except Akashi and Shoyo. They made life here better for him. Wait. A voice said, so dominant and stern. It made the Omega in him want to listen, but then again he wasn't just an Omega, he was a dominant one. So he just flipped the person off and continued to his room, placed his headphones back on and drowned himself in a mori. Days turned into weeks as Kenma continued to ignore them. He hadn't told Shoyo that he had found his mates yet because he didn't accept them. Not the poly shit they have going on, but just them. Sure, they were nice to him, but he cannot spend the rest of this life with such loud people. Though, that was the only downside. It's not like they were ugly. They were even considerate towards him when he was playing his games. They brought him food. They checked up him, even made sure his water bottle was always filled. He didn't hate them, he just didn't like how loud they were, and he never thought about spending the rest of his life with them. So imagine the shock for Kenma when his feet were taking him to their table. When he sat, the table went silent. He took out this laptop, out this bag, placed it down, and continued working on his assignment, not looking at any of them. Involuntarily his body disobeyed him and went to take a fry from Akashi's plate. It was like muscle memory. Akashi just chuckled and the conversation with the three continued. He's surprised they didn't shun him or curse him out to leave, but he could feel a set of eyes on him. It was Kuru? He needed to remember their names properly. Seeing that he probably wanted to talk, Kenma excused himself, leaving his bag and laptop on the table, and signaled Kuru to walk with him. They continued walking until they were at Kenma's car. He told Kuru to get in and HR drove to the nearest fast food place. That way if he managed to piss Kenma off, at least he'd be able to drown himself in some fries afterwards. So what's up? Kenma asked the taller one, as he parked the car. I know our relationship isn't best, I did think we were friends though. You can reject me but please don't hurt Kao. He said, looking at me with pleading eyes. He cares about you a lot. He stated a fact that Kenma already knew. I'm not rejecting any of you, but I won't be acting like you're my mates though. However, I'll accept you guys as my friends. Kenma stated. This made Kuru feel a bit better. They made small conversation as Kenma decided to go to the drive-thru and get some ice and some fries, ordering a burger for Kuru and a Coke. They continued talking as they drove back to the college, well, mostly Kuru bragging about his volleyball glory days and stuff. Kenma listened to his idiot blabber, and surprisingly he wasn't getting pissed at how much he was talking. He kinda enjoyed it. He reminded him of how Shoyo spoke about this as stubborn setter at his school, like he was in love.